Well, hey YouTube, it's Petey Two Finger, and today I'm kind of busy making a few videos. I'm about to do a very easy Vero stripboard layout. Special thanks go to paulinTheLab.com for his all his work. He's got the premier electronic engineering blog on the internet. So this is a project that he put up. Paul is a engineer. He's a music producer, guitar player type of guy. He's got a band and produces these high quality recordings. He builds a lot of his own gear. So yeah, my type of guy. So today what I needed was, I was talking about using a Boss chorus pedal to split my signal so I can have 2 amps. And why use this chorus pedal, which is kind of heavy? Really, that's the main thing, is the weight. Also, I know I can get it down to a lower amount of battery drain. So we're going to build this circuit here, this buffered Y splitter. This has 1 input and it has 2 outputs. So that's what it's going to be. There's going to be 1 jack for the in and 2 jacks for the out. I probably will put a switch on it by the in jack. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just wire the ground through the input jack. So when you connect the ground, that second unused pin throws the ground wire through and hooks the power up. So when you unplug the pedal, it disconnects the 9-volt battery. Now, what I wanted to show you real quick here is how I use this free program, which is an image editor called IRFRANVIEW. Okay, so one of the things that we do, one of the first things, is these cuts here. Now these lay on the bottom of the board, so you have to flip the board over to make these cuts. So what I do, go ahead and select the board area, and then I'm going to use the H key, and that just inverted it. So now I have, when it's inverted, I'm going to be able to make those cuts looking at my board exactly where they're going to be. Now, yes, you see here that the numbers are backwards. Well, you can go through and you can actually reverse each number to make them easy to read. You could reverse the whole thing, which that would flip-flop them. So I don't do that. I go through here and I individually flip-flop them, and then I will go ahead and run that, flip-flop that, and then I'll hit F12, which brings this menu up here. We're going to click on our A for alphabet. I'm going to go ahead and set this up here. I'm going to pick a red color, and then what do we got? Should we use sans serif font? So it is 3 jumpers and 5 cuts. Looking here, we have 1, 2, 3 jumpers in blue, and then the 5 cuts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's see. Looks okay. Maybe what we'll do is I'll make that a little bit smaller. Not too bad. So with this here, I will know when I save this image, adding this red text here is going to be a tip-off to me that this has been reversed. Another way to do it would be write reverse image and tack that on there as well. So you would only be using this when you perform the cuts, and that's the first thing I do. First thing I do is actually measure out the Vero board, and typically where you see this 1 to 12, I would add at least 1 row here and 1 row here, so that would be like 14. Sometimes I add 2 on both sides, so that would be 16. And then what I'll do is I'll use masking tape, and I'll put the masking tape in here on whatever extra, and then masking tape down here. And then what I like to do is, let me get back to my actual image here. What I will do is I will put a marking in. I'll use, let's pretend that we have masking tape down here, okay? And I will go in with a Sharpie marker, and at every fifth junction I will put a black Sharpie mark. And that's just, I mean, you could get a thin point Sharpie and write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but I find that's good enough for me to do that. And then, you know, you get colored markers. You've got this tape flapping off on the side. And let's say on your Vero you would have a red wire for the 9-volt. You could go ahead and use a red marker and put a little red line on your tape there. Mark out the wires. And then also I will go ahead, once I have it taped off and marked in segments, and I have done the cuts, I will go ahead and put a with a Sharpie, I will put a line here, I'll put a line here, I'll put a line here, I will put one here, and one here, and one here, and then also, of course, where the jumpers are. And at that point, just to double check my work, I will hand this PCB over to my wife, and I will look at the screen and I will say, okay, starting at the bottom right corner, it's empty. And we go over to the left 1 on that bottom row, and it's 1, 2, 3 with a 1, 2, 3 gap. And she'll go, yep. And then I go, okay, over one row, that row A, we're on the top, we're in row 10 now. So there's a 2 gap, and then there's a 2 with a 2 gap on the bottom. And she goes, yep. I go, okay, going over to the left, we got a 1 gap going up, it's a 4 with a 1 gap going over, it's blank in row 8, down, boom, we're on the chip, which is a 4 over by 1, 2, 3, and then that starts going up on the other row for the chip, up, leaving a 1 gap, and it's a 4 obviously because it's the chip. So we're at 5A, we go over 1 to the left, it's empty, we go down 1, it's a 2, it's a jumper, and then there's another 2 resistor with a 1 gap. Over to the left, we got a 3 cap with a 1 gap and a 2 cap electro with the minus facing north. And then it's 2 empty rows with the ground on E and the input on F. And she'll go, yep, you did a great job. So then through that process of kind of playing around with IRFRANVIEW to make, where's this? I have a booster amp. Is this it? No. Blah, 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 blah. What did I do with it? I've got a folder here that we just went through and did buffered. Let me see, did I do this on the card? Yeah, okay, it's on the memory card. So here's what I have for this project. I've got the main file, then I've got this one which tells me the cuts and the jumpers. Then I've got this one which is just for the cuts, and this image has been reversed. You can see these are backwards in here. And then we have another close-up image of the whole thing that's just kind of cleaner. So that's basically the process that I do, and that where I mark it off and I have a helper, we call that tell me a story. And one person is telling the story and the other person is reading the book and making sure that there isn't any mistakes. So through that process of tell me a story, we double check everything because I've marked the PCB with a Sharpie marker before I've soldered anything. And then if there is a problem, we can go back later with the board and tell me another story and see where I screwed up. Because sometimes, like, man, the other day, we did this 386 amp, where is it? And the simplest thing, and we didn't do the stories. I just got in a rush and did it, and I was off by one on a, where is it? I was off by one on a jumper. The jumper went all the way up to the top, and it was supposed to go with a 1 gap. And I am just not seeing that. So yeah, that's how we do it, and I hope that was helpful. You can get IRFRANVIEW. It's just Google it, and it's free. That's a wonderful program. When you install it, you can tell it if you want it to kind of take over and start handling all of your photo needs, which I do. I don't use Windows photo stuff. I use IRFRANVIEW. You can get plugins for it, so it just depends on how far you want to take it. So just watch that when you install it, and you can have it or not. And I should mention, there's another software which is called Gadwin Print Screen, and I've got that installed right now. If I hit my print screen button, it's gonna take a screenshot, and then I can edit that. Hit Control Y, and that will crop. And what that's good for is sometimes IRFRANVIEW will lock up, and if it does, let's say I just went ahead and I put this text in here, it locked up. Well, I'll go ahead and just hit print screen, and that'll give me a screen grab, and then I can go ahead and Control Y and Control S and save that and get back my work where I added this text. So yeah, it sounds more complicated than it is, but that's how we roll. That's how we use IRFRANVIEW. And then actually what I'm doing here with this, I don't know if you noticed, I have this memory card with these images. These images are going into a digital picture frame, and I'm going to set that up in my work area. So we have a PC in there, but I don't think it's hooked up right now. So, all right, peace and good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Peace.